Welcome to the deep dive. We know you want to get the important info on complex topics without feeling totally buried in details.
Yeah, just the crucial stuff.
Exactly. So today, we're tackling something called Civic coins.
It
It sounds, well, intriguing.
really is. You know how people often worry about money's influence in politics?
Yeah, constantly.
Well, our source material positions civic coins as a potential way to sort of counteract that, maybe even level the democratic playing field a bit.
Okay. Leveling the democratic playing field. I like the sound of that. So Civic coins, what are they exactly? Are they like crypto for good deeds?
Huh. Sort of, but not really crypto in the usual sense. Think of them more as earned social capital. Units of recognition, maybe?
Okay.
The key thing is you can't buy them, you can't sell them, you can't trade them like money.
Right.
They're designed specifically as a reward for civic participation, and then you can only use them for, well, more civic and political actions.
Got it. So let's break that down. The source says they're earned, not given. What kind of earning are we talking about?
We're talking about concrete actions, like actively participating in something like a GLLASS node. Remember those collaborative groups we discussed before?
Yeah, focused on specific issues?
Right. Or, doing verifiable community volunteering, maybe even successfully proposing a policy that actually gets adopted. Stuff like that.
And the source mentions smart contracts being involved in this. How do they fit in?
Ah, yes. The smart contracts are basically the automated rule keepers here. They live on a blockchain.
Yeah.
So let's say you complete your term on a citizen's assembly and it's verified. The smart contract automatically sends the agreed upon civic coins to your digital wallet.
So it takes the human judgment, maybe the bias out of it.
Exactly. It's designed to be impartial. The chapter gives examples like finish an assembly term, you get X coins. A team implements a local project, they get Y coins.
Right.
It's all meant to be based on verifiable civic action recorded transparently. That's sort of the bedrock.
That transparency sounds crucial. But okay, what stops someone who's super active, earns loads of coins, from just sitting on them and becoming like a new kind of political powerhouse?
Good question. That brings us to the use it or lose it idea. It's really important.
Use it or lose it.
Yeah. These civic coins aren't meant to last forever. They have an expiration date.
Oh, okay.
It might be tied to, say, the term of service that earned them, or maybe just a fixed period, like a year. The point is, you can't just accumulate power indefinitely. You need to stay engaged.
So it encourages ongoing participation, not just a one-off big contribution.
Precisely.
Uh,
And another really vital point, they're non-transferable, personal.
Why is that so critical?
Well, think about it. If you could transfer them, people could just buy influence again, right? Someone wealthy could pay others for their coins.
Oh, right. Defeats the whole purpose.
Totally. Making them non-transferable prevents that kind of vote buying or using someone else's civic record, basically. Your influence is tied directly to your actions.
Makes sense. So you earn these non-transferable expiring coins. What can you actually do with them? You said only civic or political actions.
Correct. Strictly political utility only, as the source puts it. You can't use them at the grocery store or convert them to cash.
So they don't become just another currency.
Exactly. Their value is purely within the civic system.
Okay, so what are those uses? Give us some examples.
The source lays out a few interesting ones. One is voting weight.
Voting weight. So not one person, one vote anymore.
Well, maybe not for everything. Major referendums would probably stay one person, one vote. But for, say, more specific decisions in direct democracy, or maybe within those specialized civic councils, having earned civic coins could potentially give your vote a bit more weight. Or you could use coins just to call attention to an issue, get it on the agenda.
So it amplifies the voice of those who've shown engagement.
That's the idea. It's not just about having ideas, but having put in the work to earn the right to push them forward,
I see. What else?
Agenda setting is another one. Maybe proposing a new policy requires spending a few coins.
Like a barrier to entry.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe more like a filter. It helps prioritize serious proposals from people who've demonstrated commitment, instead of getting swamped by, well, less serious stuff.
Okay, prioritizes active contributors. What else?
Endorsements. You could use your coins to back someone else, maybe support a good GLASS node member for another term.
Right.
Or think about participatory budgeting. You could allocate your coins to the community projects you think are most important, directing resources.
That feels very direct. And the last one mentioned was lobbying and petitions. That sounds like a big change.
Oh, it's potentially huge. The idea is to move away from the current, often murky world of monetary lobbying.
How so?
Instead of big money influencing things behind closed doors, an organization, say, an environmental group would need to earn civic coins first, maybe by doing successful conservation work. Then they could spend those earned coins to formally request, I don't know, an expert review of an environmental policy or to trigger a public hearing.
But the key is they earn the right to lobby through actual work.
Exactly. And crucially, that spending, that lobbying, is all recorded publicly on the blockchain.
Ah, which brings us to the transparency point, the blockchain ledger.
Yes, this is fundamental. Every transaction, earning, spending, what it was spent on, it's all on a public, tamper-proof record.
Tamper-proof meaning no one can secretly change it later.
Right. It ensures the coins are earned legitimately, spent according to the rules. No counterfeiting, no secret slush funds.
So anyone could, in theory, look up how much coin support a particular proposal has, or see who the really active civic contributors are.
That's the vision. The source mentions people might use pseudonyms for privacy, but others might choose to be transparent, building a public record of their contributions. It creates this parallel economy of civic merit. Influence flows to those doing the work.
Okay, the theory sounds, well, pretty compelling.
Yeah.
But how do you actually build this? What are the nuts and bolts of implementation?
Yeah, good question. It's not simple. The chapter talks about needing a really solid blockchain, probably what they call a public permissioned one, for security integrated with digital governance platforms.
And the smart contracts are doing the heavy lifting.
You're the engine, yeah. We need more examples.
Freeze.
Okay, so imagine a smart contract. Someone finishes their term on a sortition assembly, boom, coins are issued automatically.
Right.
Or a citizen-initiated law actually gets passed. The people who drove it get rewarded with coins via smart contract. Even tracking verified volunteer hours for a community project could trigger coin release.
So it automates the reward process based on verified actions.
Pretty much. And you could even have nodes, those GLLA groups, getting coins if they achieve specific national goals, maybe even bonuses for doing exceptionally well.
Wow. Who keeps an eye on all this? Make sure the rules are fair, the coin values are set right initially.
Crucially, the source says you need an independent body, like an electoral commission or a dedicated civic commission.
Oh.
They'd handle the initial setup, calibration, and ongoing oversight, and it probably wouldn't happen overnight. They suggest pilot programs first. Test it out small scale.
Sensible. And for the average person, how would they actually use these? Is it an app? A website?
Likely through secure digital wallets, probably linked to verified IDs with strong security like multi-factor authentication.
Right.
And the interface on the platform would be key. You'd log in, see your coin balance, see clear options, propose policy, cost 5 coins, vote in Council X, endorse Project Y.
And see how initiatives are doing in terms of coin support.
Yeah, real-time data, making it visible and easy to interact with.
Okay, but what about equity? You know, not everyone has the same amount of free time or resources to just jump into civic activities and start earning coins. How do you avoid creating a system where only certain people can participate effectively?
That's a really critical point the source addresses. It acknowledges that risk.
So what are the ideas to counter that?
Well, one idea is maybe everyone gets a small baseline amount of civic coins just for being a citizen. Or certain basic actions might not require coins at all.
Okay, so there's a floor.
The goal isn't to create a coin aristocracy, you know. It's about incentivizing activity. Basic voting rights in major elections would likely stay untouched. One person, one vote.
Right.
Civic coins are seen as an additional layer of influence earned through engagement. The hope is that over time, more people get involved and that influence becomes more widely spread.
Let's circle back to lobbying for a second. You said it could significantly reduce the influence of money. How exactly?
Well, if the main way to influence policy or set the agenda is through earning and spending civic coins, then just throwing money at campaigns or hiring expensive lobbyists becomes much less effective, right? The power shifts to this transparent, merit-based system.
So those groups that currently rely on big donations would have to change their whole approach.
They'd have to engage differently. They'd need to actually do socially valuable things to earn the coins needed for advocacy.
Like that environmental group example.
Exactly. They earn coins through conservation work, then spend those coins to push for policy. It forces their actions and their advocacy into the open.
The source called this kind of lobbying egalitarian. Why that word?
Because in theory, anyone, an individual, a small community group, a large organization, has the potential to earn influence through contribution regardless of their bank balance.
Okay.
And because all that coin spending is on the public ledger, it's transparent. No more backroom deals, theoretically. That transparency is like a disinfectant, you know? Harder for purely self-serving proposals to gain traction if everyone can see who's backing them and why.
And this idea of a coin pedigree, what's that about?
It's the idea that you could potentially trace a coin back to the activity that earned it.
Oh, interesting.
So while keeping individuals private, you might see aggregated data showing, say, that most coins supporting healthcare reform came from healthcare volunteers. It adds context.
Adds a layer of meaning to this support.
Yeah. And because the coins themselves have no monetary value, you can't cash them out for personal profit.
Right.
The incentive for straightforward corruption, like bribery for coins, is massively reduced. The motivation is supposed to be about the policy or the public good itself.
Which ties into the whole idea of encouraging more participation, making things more meritocratic.
Absolutely. Civic coins are framed as a kind of social capital, a form of recognition for contributing. Like getting an award, but with direct civic utility.
Tapping into that desire for recognition.
Yeah, maybe creating sort of positive competition, you know? A culture where people are motivated to do good, partly for the recognition and influence it brings within the civic sphere.
And the source thought this might appeal to younger people.
Potentially, yeah, like earning points in a game or building a profile online, but for real-world impact, building a civic resume through verifiable actions.
And this enhances meritocracy. How, exactly?
By shifting the basis of influence away from wealth or connections and towards demonstrated civic commitment and skill, those who consistently contribute positively earn more say.
But again, not replacing basic rights.
No, the source stresses that. Basic voting rights remain equal. Civic coins are an extra layer of influence based on earned merit. Like, in a public meeting, anyone can speak, but the expert might carry more weight.
Okay. Now, there's also this civic score mentioned. How is that different from civic coins? And crucially, how is it different from those scary social credit systems we hear about?
Right, that distinction is vital. The civic score isn't about punishment. It's envisioned as a broader measure of positive engagement within the GLAS game framework.
Broader than just earning coins.
Yeah, it might factor in your coin balance, sure, but also things like how well you collaborate with others, your reliability, maybe peer feedback. The source even mentions tracking cooperative behavior. The goal is to identify and maybe give more responsibility to people who are consistently constructive, reliable, and collaborative members of the community, not to penalize anyone.
So coins are the reward tokens. The score is more like a reputation metric within the system.
That's a good way to put it. It looks at qualities like honesty, empathy, resilience, things that make for good civic actors.
Okay, this is a massive proposed change.
Mhm.
What are the potential downsides or challenges the source flags?
Well, definitely the risk of a new elite, the high coin holders.
Right, the super citizen.
Yeah. So mitigation ideas include limits on how many coins you can spend on one issue, the expiration dates we talked about, and maybe fostering a culture where experienced people mentor newcomers rather than just dominate.
And the inclusivity issue we touched on, people with less time or resources.
Huge challenge. Solutions proposed include stipends for participation, making it financially viable for more people, and designing ways for people to make micro contributions, small actions that fit busy schedules but still earn some coins. Maybe universal basic income plays a role here too, freeing up time.
What about just getting people to use it? Trusting the tech?
Big hurdle. Needs a lot of public education, user-friendly interfaces, and rock-solid secure technology. Plus, backup systems and human oversight for when tech fails.
And legally, this would shake things up.
Oh, for sure. You'd likely need changes to campaign finance laws, election regulations, all sorts of things to formally integrate this and reduce money's traditional role.
Okay, the source goes even deeper into assessment, beyond just coins, this civic sociometrics idea.
Right. If people are wielding influence via coins, you need fair ways to assess them within the system. This focuses on positive metrics, rewarding good engagement.
And it combines different inputs.
Yeah, three main things. Self-rating against clear criteria, peer rating based on collaboration, and this no geometry resonator feedback, which sounds complex but seems to be about using data on group interactions to see how constructively people participate compared to others.
Like analyzing how well people work together in those nodes.
Something like that. Looking at the patterns of interaction.
What's the point of such a detailed rating system?
The benefits listed are things like better accountability, helping citizens make informed choices, encouraging competence, deterring corruption, maybe promoting diversity by recognizing different contribution styles, and building public trust overall.
But rating people, that always raises flags about fairness, privacy.
Absolutely. The source acknowledges those concerns up front. It says metrics must be clear, the system open to review, and strong safeguards needed against bias and data misuse. It's compared to product reviews imperfect, but potentially useful if transparent.
Right.
And it could help people become more self-aware about their own civic contributions.
What about people trying to game the system? Friends rating friends, quid pro quo.
Yeah, potential for exploitation is real. Countermeasures suggested include total transparency in ratings, an independent watchdog using multiple data sources, constantly updating the system, anonymous reporting for abuse, and clear legal rules. Distributing the evaluation power is key.
And civic coins could be tied into these ratings too.
Yes, positive ratings or demonstrating development in certain areas could potentially earn you more coins or partial coins, another layer of positive reinforcement.
So to sum up this assessment part, it's about combining the civic coins with this broader civic score, which looks at multiple factors like honesty, collaboration, using different inputs like self, peer, and system feedback.
Exactly. The score might aggregate categories, maybe use scales for different qualities and principles. It's presented as part of the GLS game's overall approach to civic engagement.
Okay. So when you put all these pieces together, the direct democracy ideas, the GLS game collaboration, the civic coins, the assessment metrics,
The argument is that you get a picture, a comprehensive vision of a potentially very different democratic system.
right. So wrapping up our deep dive here, the big idea with civic coins seems to be about fundamentally changing the incentive structure in democracy.
Yeah, shifting it. Rewarding actual public service, making influence something you earn transparently, not something you buy quietly.
Trying to restore trust, perhaps, by making the connection between contribution and influence visible and verifiable.
That's the hope. Moving the focus from financial resources to, well, demonstrated merit and active goodwill in the civic space.
Which leaves us with a final thought for everyone listening. How might a system like this change your engagement with civic life? If your contributions were directly recognized and translated into influence this way, what might you be motivated to do differently?
Yeah, what does it mean for how we value participation itself? Definitely something to think about.
A lot to chew on. Hopefully this deep dive gave you a clear understanding of the concept. Thanks for joining us.